Hello, I'm Joshua Alvarez, and this is Canada Pitch, right here from Canada Star TV. And we're going to talk with a very good friend of mine. He's Youssef Abdelmalek.
Hi, Joshua.
How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, my biggest pleasure. So let me tell you something about Youssef. He's a great photographer. He's well known in Toronto. And he's one of the few photographers that I could know the work. I could know he was the one that took the picture by me watching looking at his work. So it's a great privilege having him here, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so Youssef, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, that's, I guess, the question that everybody freaks out when they hear. I guess if there are two things that I would say about myself is I'm a gadgets guy. I love gadgets, and since I was a kid, I always had something for electronics. That thing transferred into cameras and lenses. In 2005, my father bought my first digital camera. It was a 3.2 megapixel camera. It was way worse than any cell phone in 2018. It was a pistol design. So when you hold it, it looks like you're holding a gun, kind of thing. It had a tiltable LCD screen, and it was one of those devices that's like all in one. It had an MP3 player. It was just basically a funny camera. It was called DJ Cam, I think. That was my beginning with photo and video. I did few videos with this camera, family videos kind of thing. So I took behind the scene photos and videos of what was happening in my childhood and my younger brother's childhood. And I actually found that SD card from this camera, I think a little over a year ago. And
You found it?
I found the SD card when I was immigrating to Canada. I put everything in a box and I forgot about it. And then I was just sorting things again, and I found that box and I found the SD card, and I saw few pictures that were almost 13 years ago in 2005 and 2006. And I could not stop my tears. And you would be surprised what a 3.2 megapixel camera does, because it still records memories and it still throws you back in time. So, I mean, now if you have given me a 3.2 megapixel camera and that's the only thing you leave with me, I probably will not document anything with it, because I've had a chance to be to own higher end equipment, and I think that's a very dangerous thing. I think as photographers and as artists, we need to take our art with us everywhere.
That's right.
And if there is something happening, take a photo with your cell phone. It's okay. It's going to be noisy. It's not a full frame camera. There is no telephoto lenses, no L series lenses.
Nothing.
But it's a memory, and you shouldn't lose it. And that's one thing I learned when I found that SD card. There was no way I could recreate these emotions and these memories unless I had that 3.2 very poor camera.
Well, this might be... Go ahead.
In fact, I think my dad gets credit for this, because in Egypt at that time, to get a digital camera in 2005 was, whoa, I was the coolest kid on the block. And he paid a lot of money for it. Although now you can get it on eBay for 30 bucks.
30 bucks, eh?
Yeah.
Well, recently they found a picture of Billy the Kid. And it's worth, I believe, $2 million. Eh?
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Wow.
So that's something, eh?
Yeah.
So going back to your childhood, you're from Egypt, eh?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And is that where your passion towards photography began?
I guess. I liked electronics. I had something... So anything that had electric current in it, I was interested. Cameras were especially interesting because you can see stuff on a screen, and then I didn't have a chance to work with film cameras. I had one film camera, and I was a very young child, so I don't recognize it, I don't remember it. But my digital camera, that DJ Cam that I was just telling you about, this is my first encounter with photo and video. And I would say that was how it started. I did not see myself having it as a job, as a profession, 14 or 15 years later. Not 15 years, 14 years. And I didn't think it's gonna become a job, but I was super interested. In fact, I used to do like green screen stuff with my cousins, and we would do like parody videos and just make fun of politics and stuff like that, and we were kids.
Okay.
Kids were not generally invited to politics.
It sounds interesting. So when is it that you said, okay, this is something I really want to do.
This is a business.
Yes.
Yeah, so essentially what happened is when I came to Canada, I saw bigger stores, because in Egypt this is not very common for you to see digital SLRs and high-end equipment just on display. You'd have to go to a specialty store. And when I came in Canada in 2010, I went to Future Shop and Best Buy, and I saw all these stores, and I saw cameras on display, and I just badly wanted one. And a year later, I bought a Canon T3i, which is an entry-level camera. My thought was, it's just a camera. I'm not going to buy more stuff. And it was the biggest lie I ever told myself. I bought the camera, and then a week later, I got rid of the kit lens. I didn't like the kit lens because basically, when I did that, I was just going after creating a blurry background, a depth of field that is very shallow. And if you look at my images currently, you're going to find that the depth of field is extremely shallow. And that was how I got seriously interested in photography. And that was serious interest rather than just a kid with a 3.2 megapixel camera. I ended up getting a 50 millimeter. I think it's a classic lens that every photographer needs to have, a 51.8. And then I took a lot of portraits with it. And then I grew out of that, and I thought, you know what, maybe now I need to learn about lighting. And then I got into light shaping tools, and I started learning what is hard light and what is soft light. So I started buying lights, I started buying speed lights, I started buying triggers for the speed lights and soft boxes and umbrellas and things. And I was just taking portraits of my friends for fun. And then in 2015, I decided to take a leap of faith, upgrade my camera and upgrade my lenses. It was almost $6,000 worth of purchase.
Oh, wow. That's an investment.
Yes. And it was a purely emotional decision. I would love to sit here and say, yes, I calculated things and I made a business. Actually, it was not a business decision. It was 100% emotion.
Only emotion.
I just wanted that combo of a lens and a full frame camera so that I can create that super shallow depth of field. Because with the 50 millimeter that I ended up upgrading to a 51.4, which is a slightly wider aperture, you still don't get that very shallow depth of field. For you to be able to get to an extreme shallow depth of field, you have to have a longer focal length in combination with a wider aperture, and that's what I ended up doing. So in 2015, I got that combo, and I started, building my portfolio with that, with Toronto actors. And once I built a portfolio and I was confident enough in my craft, I launched my business, and I decided, okay, now I can charge people for a headshot. Okay,
so you started volunteering pictures for some actors.
Free work. I had my fair share of free work, because here's the thing: you cannot try something out with someone who's paying you. If you're paying me $1 for something and you expect that it's going to give you this much of an outcome, and it gives you half of that, I am in trouble, and you're disappointed, and it just stinks. It doesn't go away. If you're unaccountable once, if people cannot depend on you, and people cannot trust the word that you say, you're done. And I think it is fairly irreversible. And it hurts you too. It hurts you too, because when you think that you had an expectation of yourself and you failed yourself with your own expectation and you took someone's money, you take a hit. Your self-confidence takes a hit. But when you're doing it for free and you reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm still learning, I'm still experimenting, I would love to do this with you, and if it works out, you end up with a great headshot, I end up with something for my portfolio. And I did that with almost 10 actors before I charged 1 penny.
Before you charged, you went through all of these things.
Yes.
So that's a very interesting point that you mentioned, because I'm all about volunteering. I like volunteering.
Of course.
In my career, I started volunteering at Rogers TV as a cameraman.
Yeah, I've been there.
And that's how I learned, right? In the film industry, most of the actors, they start volunteering.
Yes.
So I always tell people, don't be afraid of volunteering.
No. The thing is, you got to know how to do it and the right way to do it, because everybody now is going to tell you, hey, my project is the winning thing, and you got to be on board. And they're going to promise you things, and it goes back to being accountable. They will, promise you things that are not necessarily true. My rule is, if you're going to do free work, it's going to be your decision.
Of course.
So I reached out to people and I said, hey, I would like to shoot with you, and this is what I propose.
Of course.
But if somebody reaches out to me, there is no way, even then when I was learning, I would turn them down. I would say, I'm not interested now, not now.
Okay.
That way, I am not, giving myself for someone that is taking me for granted.
Of course.
You just make your terms clear.
Yes.
And with these people that I've worked with for free right now, after things have progressed, we still have that relationship where I would be their go-to photographer, and the person that they saw as someone who was learning, now when they see that there is a sustainable and a consistent level of work, they're very happy to pay me for it.
Okay, well, of course. Let's talk about some of your work. What kind of work have you done?
I would say the overwhelming majority of my work is headshots.
Okay.
I think when you try to start something, you gotta stick to one thing, get really, really good at it, and then get some attention, and then you can start building something else. I think where people fall short is you're too excited and too, you just can't wait to dominate the whole thing and be the king, and then you start doing headshots, and then you start doing lifestyle portraits.
Sure.
And people go to your website and they don't know what exactly do you offer. So my strategy was that I want to do something and build it not on sand, build it on stone.
Okay.
Until it's firm and it's consistent.
Yes.
Then I would explore something else, and it would be only something else that I would explore for a while, make sure that I get really, really good at, so that when people hire me for that whatever other type of photography that is, they know that they're gonna get something that they should expect.
Okay.
They're not gambling. There's no huge uncertainty. I think there's always uncertainty.
Good.
You cannot be 100% certain about anything.
Yeah, of course.
But there is a level of confidence that is acceptable, and there is a level of confidence that is not acceptable.
Okay, so now we're going to have some of your pictures in the background, and I'm sure that as a photographer, you love all of them. But
yeah, I created them.
I know, but they're your babies, eh?
Yes. Your images you don't really take an image and it just departs and it leaves you. It's like a continuous birth.
Absolutely. But let's describe some of them, okay? Is there any particular one that you would like to talk about right now?
Well, I think I light my images almost in a very consistent and a very similar way.
Sure.
I like to use Rembrandt lighting, or some people would call it loop lighting, and it's basically lighting that's coming in from not a side light, it's coming in from a 45-degree angle. Okay. What that does, it gives you a little bit of a shape and dimension to the face rather than a flat light. A flat light is essentially a light that's on axis with your lens.
Okay.
So if that light that was here, for example,
of course,
was over there on this camera, I'd be flat lit, right? So I like to do a lighting that's a little bit dramatic. That said, you've got to be careful not to go crazy, because if there's too much shadow and there is a part of the face that's not clear and not seen, then you've lost the purpose of what a headshot is. Now you're in a portrait territory. Headshots are a subset of portraits.
It's a subset. They're not the same.
The headshots are portraits.
Okay.
Every single headshot is a portrait, but not every single portrait is a headshot.
What's the difference?
So if you take a frame that is a lot wider, that is not focused on the person's head and shoulders, that maybe is not focused on their emotion, that could count more as a portrait. If you take a photo from a person's back, for example, that counts as a portrait.
Okay.
But then for you to be able to say this is a headshot, you've got to, well, there are varying definitions, right? And there are no hard and fast rules. Everybody kind of have their own standard, but there is a standard in the industry that a headshot is essentially head and shoulders, a little bit tighter. You can go a little bit wider because in some cases casting would like to see a little bit more of the body.
Sure.
So you would find maybe 3/4 shots that are being marketed as headshots.
Okay.
I personally don't like to do that. I personally like to call it what it is, headshot. It's head and shoulders. But again, I think there is multiple definitions for what a headshot is, and it varies from city to city. For example, you go to Los Angeles, for example, and you give them a photo that has, up to here, up to like, the waist, and you say it's a headshot, people are going to say no, it's
not a headshot.
We don't accept that. But if you do that here in Toronto, it's a little bit more accepted.
Okay.
So it depends on the industry and how people define things.
Good. Going a little bit into the past, what are a few misconceptions you had when you started?
Yeah. Well, I guess when you start anything, you have a lot of misconceptions because you don't know anything, right? I think I had a thought that there is a silver bullet. There is just one thing or one person. They're just gonna go grab that one person from their hands and be like, please open all doors for me. And that there is no such a thing. It was a very naive thought. I thought that there is something that I don't know, that somebody else knows, that's getting that somebody else further than it will get me. And that's further, it couldn't be more further from the truth. There is nothing, there is no secret that you don't know that's getting somebody else ahead of you. The only thing that's getting somebody else ahead of you is hard work. And that's what I found out with time, right? You just work hard as you can, and you create something that satisfies you, and then it will be recognized automatically. You don't have to do anything for it to be recognized other than just do what you're passionate about.
It's the hard work. So no silver bullet.
No silver bullet.
And no shortcuts either.
No shortcuts. Things take time, and as a, the stubborn kid that I am, I don't like the fact that things take time. I just want everything now. But I guess I learned that,
of course,
experience. Experience is very important. Another thing that I had as a misconception was that once you build a very solid portfolio, things are going to be, glamorous. And that's not true either. Building your portfolio and having your portfolio or your actor's reel or whatever it is, the material that you show people so that they can believe in you, is crucial and is definitely a very important milestone, but it's just step one. It's 1%. 99% are other things, are how you run your business, how you carry yourself, how you network with people, and who you know. Who you know is very important.
Networking.
Networking is incredibly important, and what people don't understand about networking is you cannot network with an agenda. You've got to make genuine friendships for the sake of making genuine friendships, not for the sake of I'm gonna be your friend, but you host me on your show. If you don't host me on your show,
I'm not your friend.
yeah, some people approach that way. They would approach you in a way they would be very friendly and you're my buddy, but then once they find out that they're not getting something out of you,
you're out.
Not explicitly.
Okay.
But they're going to be less, enthusiastic about talking to you.
Okay.
You cannot do that. You've got to create genuine friendships. And I got to tell you this. It is very healthy and it's very, I would say, very supportive. And this is what I love about this industry. And I'm trying to take that outside of the industry too. I do corporate work with people that are not creative. I don't want to say not creative, but they're not by definition actors or models or TV hosts. And when they find that you're friendly and that you're willing to not treat them as a number, you're just headshot session number 9,000 something. I have not shot 9,000 people. But when you don't give people the treatment that they're a number, things are very different. And you also get something out of it. Because I don't want to be 80 years old on my deathbed thinking that I just shot this X number of people.
Yeah.
And I don't remember them and I did not have fun. I think when you start to be friends with people, you have fun, you're connected, and then that person that you shot, they call you 3 weeks later screaming at the top of their lungs and they're like, I booked a part with your headshot, I booked a part. That's a feeling that not any amount of money can replace.
Absolutely.
It's an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
Especially when you create something that surprises you and surprises the person that hired you.
That's correct.
And you gotta always be pushing, and you have to be the guy who's raising the bar.
Yes.
Rather than being the guy who's trying to keep up with the guy that's raising the bar.
Absolutely. Networking and volunteering, those two principles go everywhere.
Yes.
And talking about networking, I really believe the same thing you believe in. Networking has to be organic, has to be natural.
Has to be yes.
It's not about, give me a job.
Yes.
Get me a gig. Get me a part in your next movie. No, it goes beyond that.
And then there's one thing that goes hand in hand with making genuine friendships, and that is when you approach people on an equal footing. You're equal to everybody and everybody is as vulnerable as you are. Sometimes when we are climbing a ladder, or we think that somebody's higher, in a higher position, we think that these people don't have feelings, but that's not true. Yeah. They have feelings, they need your support too, even if you're smaller, even if you're smaller than them. So don't approach people in the sense that they're higher than you. We're just all vulnerable, we're all trying, we're all, pushing. And when you put that mindset in your head, you realize that that person may also be struggling with something, and they don't have the time to maybe help you with whatever you're asking. And if you ask in a different way, rather than, sir, please give me that or this, and things can drastically change.
Absolutely.
To the better, of course.
Yes, and when we do the networking, I don't know about you, but I feel honestly that there could be someone up here, but at the moment you talk with them, you have to feel that you're an equal, that you could bring stuff too, you could bring things to the table.
That's true. There is an acting coach that I shot recently, not too long ago. I think it was November or October. And his online presence was just scary. He was killing it, and everybody, I shot a few of the actors that trained with him, and they were speaking very highly of him, and to the point that when he told me that he wants me to take his headshots, I was just flying.
That's a good feeling, eh?
I was seriously happy, but then I was super nervous too. I was setting up lights, and I started questioning everything. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? You've done 50 to 60 very good headshots, and this is number 61, and you're gonna do okay, just chill. But I was freaking out, I was afraid. But then when he showed up on set, he was very humble, he didn't give me the treatment that, I am a celebrity, and I think this is something that's very important in this industry, and I think most of us are very humble.
Good.
And those of us who have a huge ego, I think it just hurts them.
It hurts, right?
Yeah.
And you burn the bridges too, eh? If you have that big ego.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. You have to realize that no matter how good you are, you're very replaceable.
That's everyone else.
Everyone is, and you don't take anything for granted. The people that I shoot, every single person that reaches out and says, hey, I love your work, I'd love you to shoot me, I don't take you for granted. And I'm very thankful, equally thankful every single time when somebody reaches out and says that.
Great. Now, let's imagine I'm an actor, or I'm an actor, and I'm looking for a photographer.
Yes.
What should I be looking for?
Yes, there are a few things that are very important elements in a headshot that you should be targeting and you should look for. The first is what happens in your eyes. I think I like the saying that says the eye is the window to the soul. And when you're on a casting screen, I think the engagement in someone's face is most prominent and is most evident in their eyes. So with the eyes, you gotta look for a few things. The first is the catch light.
Okay.
The catch light is essentially the light that is reflected from the photographer's light into the actor's eye. So you're gonna find some, bubbles of light.
Okay.
These are called catch lights.
Catch lights.
The way these look is very important. Different lighting setups will produce different catch lights. So the closer a key light is it's going to produce a bigger catch light, because the relative size of the light to the actor's face is bigger because it's closer.
Okay.
When the catch light is, I like big catch lights. Some other photographers would take the light a little bit further so that you create a point catch light. It's just a small point. I personally don't like that, but there is no right or wrong. So that's the first thing you gotta pay attention to. The second thing is the engagement of the eye. You can be looking at the camera, exactly at the camera, but then you're not too connected. The eyes, the way they connect to the camera is incredibly important.
Okay.
And I think that's the photographer's job, to be, essentially a monkey behind the camera. You can't, as a photographer, you can't just be behind the camera and just click, 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 and that's it. You've got to make sure that person is connected to you and to the camera, and in the same time, you've got to make sure that you're distracting them enough from the fact that you're taking their photo, because we're all very vulnerable.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how good or bad you look. I don't think anybody looks bad, but I would say by certain beauty standards, if you think you're 9 out of 10, and you're on camera, you can be equally vulnerable to someone else who's a 4 out of 10. You can be very good looking, but then you can freak out and be awkward on camera, and that's perfectly normal because we're all human.
Yes.
Right? And no matter how beautiful you are, you're going to look at someone else and think that they're hotter than you.
And that's why sometimes there's some actors that they demand to watch their pictures before they're published. Eh?
Yes, yes. And what I do is in sessions, I have few screens. I have a screen for myself and a screen beside the key light where the actor can see the image as soon as I take it.
Okay.
Sometimes I disable that. Sometimes I enable it. You have to judge based on how afraid or how stiff the person is. Some people are very confident. They see the first few frames and they're thrilled, and it can give them a push because they're already liking what they're seeing in the first few frames. And in some other cases, some people are extremely self-conscious and afraid. And you show them the first few frames and things go downhill very fast. Okay. And in that case, you just take away the screen and say, listen, just take a deep breath.
Of course.
It's okay. We've all been there on a camera and we thought that we looked terrible. And then by time, you take that away from them. You take that feeling away, and then you distract them enough to think that, okay, life is not going to end when this session ends. I'm going to end up with nice pictures once you make them just calm down. Good. You know, you have to be able to make people calm. That's number one. And two, you have to bring the best out of them, because there is something about every single person out there that is stunning. And once you find what that is, and you can show them that they're actually stunning, then you change that whole concept of, no, I look horrible. It just goes away.
Yeah, well, talking about horrible, 99% of my pictures, but the ones that really come really bad are the government issue pictures.
Oh yeah.
Because in my case, this is me, I'm always smiling and happy.
Yes.
And in the government issue pictures,
they ask you not to smile.
They ask you to be serious, right?
Yeah. I don't know why they do that. And I'm not going to show you the driver's license.
No. Oh, you don't want to see my passport.
No.
But here's the thing. Recently I was traveling, and an agent of another country saw, and this person said, this doesn't look like you.
Oh my God.
And I said, well, yes, because I'm always smiling, and this person is not me. We both started laughing. But you see, everyone has a specific feature that they always portray in the pictures.
Yes.
Okay.
There is something specific about everyone that they freak out about. If you take out your cell phone and take a photo of me, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that, Joshua, you're making my nose look big, because hell, my nose is big. But, you know, it's the first thing that I notice. But then you show the picture to someone else, they don't pay attention to my nose. And that's the thing. The way you see yourself is very different than the way others see you.
Yes.
And these two images, how you see yourself and how someone else sees you, they just coincide and they come really close when you take a picture, and that other person and you're both looking at a screen that's you. You're both looking at the same thing, but you're both having two completely different feelings.
Yes. And there's a great possibility that we don't like the way we look also. We're very self-conscious about these little details.
I think most people are not thrilled about how they look.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm not thrilled about it. I don't know.
I don't know either. Let's leave that question for the actors, the good-looking people.
Yes.
Let's talk about equipment.
Yes.
Equipment, does it break or does it make?
That's a very good question. I think I see a lot of people, you know, they're just chaining themselves and they're just stopping themselves with the excuse of, I need this list so that I can create this. And here's the thing, it's good to fantasize about things and it's good to daydream. Yes. But the problem is if you continue daydreaming and you're waiting for some angel to drop, or Canada pitch. If you're waiting for someone to drop $30,000 on you, and then you can go buy, you know, a Canon C300 Mark II and a 70-200 and a 16-35, and then when you do that and you buy a couple of Kinoflows, and this is when you're gonna start creating things, let me tell you, there's a problem with that. One, nobody's gonna drop $30,000 on you.
Of course.
Two, you're not gonna know what to do with them if you get that kind of equipment the first thing, right? There is a ladder that you gotta climb, and what I suggest people could do, and that's how I did it. When I got my T3i with the kit lens, I would look at YouTube tutorials and see like a 5D Mark III and a 70-200 and you know, like a bunch of L series lenses. I had a wish list that was like $15,000.
15, right? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's no, actually for videographers and cinematographers that number goes way up to crazy amounts. But you know, that was my wish list, and what I ended up doing is I said, well, there is no way I'm gonna come up with 15 grand now, but what I can come up with is maybe $2,000 or $3,000 that I can have some basic equipment to do decent in birthday photos or in engagement photos. And that's what I did. I did a lot of engagement and a lot of birthday photos. I was not necessarily super duper passionate about them.
Of course.
But you have to be keen enough. I'm not saying you show up extremely cold to a birthday. You can't do that. You have to have some interest. And that I made enough in birthday and engagement photos, and I told myself, listen, the money you're gonna make in birthday and engagement photos it's gonna go to an account. It's gonna be saved up.
Yes.
This doesn't go to living expenses, doesn't go to useless gear, because we buy a lot of useless gear too.
Okay.
My goal was a full frame and a telephoto lens. That was $6,000. I needed to save $6,000 for that. I saved most of it, and I ended up taking a loan for the other. I saved half of it, and I took a loan for half of it. And I made the move, and I got the gear. But then when I got the gear, I had experience with lower grade gear.
Sure.
And I could appreciate the higher end, right? If the higher end is the first thing you see, you don't appreciate it.
And without doing these things, you will not have gotten the experience that you have now.
That's true, because it gives you a business experience with people. And then right now, you know that the birthday client thinks in a totally different way than the headshot client.
It's different, eh?
They're two different people looking for two different things, and you can't mix and match. And that way you learn about business, and then there are similarities that you learn from, right? Like in that period that I did that, I learned that discounts do not work. For example, that's one thing that I learned. And that is, once you discount your price, you screw yourself up and you screw your client up too. Okay. It's just a lose-lose situation.
And you don't want that.
And you don't want a lose-lose situation.
Okay.
No, because people will tend to talk about negative things a lot more than they're going to talk about good things.
Oh, absolutely.
One pissed off customer will talk about you as much as 99 that are extremely happy.
That's true. So it's very important to focus on that.
I don't think you should come in this business thinking that you have your B game. And that's one other thing. I was chilling with one of my buddies who does video, and he showed me part of you know, like a corporate video that he did. And the skin tones, obviously I have something for skin tones and lighting and stuff. And the skin tones were not, you know, matching across the board. And the first thing I told him, well, your color temperature and skin tones are not matching throughout. And the first thing he told me is I wasn't paid enough to care. And what I told him was, no, that's not how this works. You get paid $300 when you wanted $600. It's on you that you took the gig.
That's
because
right.
That $300 piece, it's gonna go in your portfolio, and it's gonna either bring you another $300 piece or another $600 piece.
That's right.
And the difference is how meticulous attention you pay to things.
So let your yes mean yes and your no, no.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And once you say yes, you have to treat it as if it was
full
$1 million.
Full throttle. You have to have your A game. I would say yes to a gig, even if it's a little bit less than what I wanted. I would treat it as if I'm paying 200% of what I wanted. Because here's the thing. You make one person extremely happy and you exceed their expectations. You're happy because you produced something you're proud of. You can put it in your portfolio without blinking. And that person is also very happy because they think they got value for whatever they paid you for.
And they'll recommend you.
And they will recommend you.
And they'll call you later.
But then you show up and then you do subpar work under the excuse of I'm not being paid the full amount that I wanted. Then you put a crappy piece in your portfolio that's not stunning, and then that person is also not thrilled. I don't think you should be in that situation. I think saying no is extremely healthy.
That's right.
Especially that as artists, self-value is very important. when somebody tries to haggle your rate or like try to bring it down, you take it personally because it's not, you're not selling a commodity, right?
That's right.
As an artist, as a photographer or a cinematographer, when you're taking family portraits, for example, that family portrait with that grandmother, this is what these people are going to have when she's dead.
That's
this is the picture that they're going to look at and just burst into tears.
That's right.
And you cannot do subpar work when it comes to stuff like that and then tell them, I'm sorry, you weren't paying me enough.
Yeah.
It's got to be a stunning picture. And it's got to be her true self. You got to spend enough time with them. What a lot of photographers end up doing is they say, you know what, okay, I'm going to use high-end equipment. I will give you technically sharp pictures, but I'm going to cut on time because you don't want to pay me my full price. And what that does is it doesn't give you the full experience. You don't get what you're seeing on their website, and it's not you because it's an awkward version of you. I think the first 20 minutes in any photo shoots are plain awkward.
Wow, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. And again, I see a photo session like going to a nice fancy restaurant with the wife.
Yeah.
You don't go to a nice fancy restaurant with the wife and asking them to lower the prices for you.
Yes.
No, it's something nice that you want to cherish, right?
Yes, you want the full experience.
Yes.
And you owe it to yourself too.
That's right.
Some people would think less of themselves. I have been told many times that I'm not good enough to invest in myself to pay this much in a headshot. And the first thing I tell them is, well, here's the thing. You convince yourself that you're good enough, and then you show up to the session knowing that you're good enough, and you get pictures that show that you're good enough, and then you're going to be cast in things that you would not otherwise be cast in.
That's right.
Because you've taken yourself seriously enough so that casting and your agent can take you seriously enough too.
That's right. And if a picture can open a door, you should go for it, right?
It does.
As a photographer, what's the key for success in this business?
I don't know what success is. I don't think there is one particular point that you reach and you get to and you're like, okay, I'm now successful. You know, I think you just gotta enjoy the journey. Success is very relative.
Yes.
For me, I just want to be happy, and I want to be able to pay my bills doing what makes me happy. That to me is, I would be content. I would not say it's success. I think when you do something for a very long time, which I have a long road ahead of me, this is when you can call yourself successful. I think people call themselves successful prematurely.
Yes.
I am content where I am. I'm very happy where I am. But
that is success right there. If you're happy, it's success.
But I don't want to be here in the next 6 months. If you see me in the next 6 months and I'm getting the same amount of work and the same caliber of people, I'm not going to be that happy.
Okay.
You have to progress, and I think it's what keeps you alive. I think positive emotion is directly linked to responsibility and to progress. You don't get positive emotion from just having an absurd amount of money. And that's why some extremely rich people, they would be depressed or they would suicide, because there is no goal, there is no journey, you're not looking towards something. I think the challenge and doing what people are telling you that you can't do is awesome. Okay. Funny story about that loan that I was signing. The salesman in a camera store in downtown Toronto, actually it wasn't Mississauga, not downtown. The first thing he told me is like, that's a very bad loan to sign. You should not sign that. You're just emotionally driven. You're not going to make that money back. Actor headshots are locked to, and he said a few names, and actually I'm friends with few of the names that he mentioned now. Some of them have been very, very kind to me.
Good.
And what ended up happening is that a few years later, this very same guy sent me a message and he's like, hey, you're doing really good. And I really like your work. I think you cannot let people tell you that you can't do something.
No.
If somebody tells you they can do something, they failed to do it, and that's why they're telling you that, that doesn't mean that you're going to fail. You just keeping at it. You only fail when you decide, okay, that's it, I'm just going to pull the plug. This is when you fail. But if you keep trying and you're not getting somewhere, you just change your methods, change your approach.
Absolutely.
And then you get somewhere.
Yes, very
And
good.
I have done things that have not worked, and I have done things that have worked.
But the things that don't work, they are the ones that actually teach us. Yes.
They teach you, of
You-
course.
Life is all about that. It's all about making mistakes. It's about
Oh, I love making
taking the
mistakes.
risk. Yeah, take the risk. And I'm sure that you look back at some of the business decisions you've done,
Of
or a risk that
Of course.
people say were not
Yes.
successful.
Yes.
Those are actually the most important ones.
Yeah, you also have to listen to people when
Yeah.
they're telling you bad things. Not necessarily bad things, maybe negative things. I have a friend of mine who was consistently, criticizing my branding. That was maybe 4 years ago. And at the time, I was like, why is he that harsh? But then when I look back and Facebook memories, they bring up
Yes,
posts that you would put years ago.
of course.
And I would see the posts and I'm like, oh my God, I actually did not know anything about branding. And he was definitely right.
He was right.
And I reached out and said, hey, you know what? I probably thought you were harsh and not nice, but you are. You are very right. You're
Okay.
very right. And it was the right thing to do.
Of course. And you know what? As a friend, you got to tell them, right?
Of course, there is a balance between not listening and listening.
Yes.
If I had listened to that guy in that store and not signed, I probably would not have built what's there now. And I think it's a very scary feeling to think that it wouldn't be there, because I love it. I love what's happening. I love how, the website looks and how these images, I can call them mine, right? If you had shown me that back then, I would say, no, you're absolutely crazy. But then once you don't listen to someone, if someone is telling you can't, I think you should not listen. You should consider why they're telling you can't. Because there is a reason they're telling you why you can't. And if you figure out what that reason is, then you would be able to do anything.
Okay, that's very good advice. Something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
What is Youssef doing now? What is his biggest challenge, his next project?
Right. I think my most two challenging things right now, I'm as I said earlier, I did headshots for a while and I'm very confident in my craft when it comes to headshots. Right now I'm building another portfolio for another type of photography.
What type?
Well, it's mostly lifestyle portraits, corporate portraits,
Okay.
commercial, on the commercial end of things. So things that would be used on brochures, on websites for real estate agents or lawyers, things of that sort. So more like commercial photography. It still involves people.
Yes.
The other thing that is ongoing that I'm trying to push myself as much as I can is I want to do more video. I want to put more videos online. I think there is a gap between the professional photographer and the person that is hiring a professional photographer. There is a gap.
Okay.
And then people say things to us photographers and the first thing we think, oh, you're very dumb. You're actually very stupid. But then the truth is they don't know. You cannot accuse people of being dumb when they don't know, right? And I think that void and that gap needs to be filled. And the only way that's going to be filled is by dialogue. You have to talk to people and then once you speak to people in a reasonable way and then educate them, and you don't educate them from a position that I am higher than you and I'm educating you because you don't know anything.
That's right.
You don't do it that way.
No.
Then people understand your point of view. They understand why you're doing what you're doing, because there are things to the average person, for example, copyright, right?
Okay.
Copyright to the average person seems weird. The copyright law in Canada and in America is, it states that if you create a piece of art or any media, you own copyright to it. So if you pull out your phone, you take a picture of me, although it is me, you own copyright to that image.
So I own the copyright if I take the picture of you.
You do. But now that we're in a private place, you still own the copyright, but you can't do what you can do when we are in a public place. You take that picture on the street, you put it on Facebook, I message you and I say, hey Joshua, I think my nose is extremely big in that picture, please take it down. If it pleases you to say, no, I'm not taking the picture down, there's nothing I can do about it.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Because I'm the owner.
Because you're the owner and it is in public.
Okay.
If you can see it with your eye in public, I'm not a lawyer.
Okay.
So this should not be taken as legal advice.
Sure.
But I'm pretty confident in that. You take a picture in public of someone and it does not include nudity or it does not defame them,
Okay.
you can do whatever you want with it.
That's interesting.
If they can prove that it's defaming them, then that's a different story.
That's a different one, eh?
Yeah.
Going back to corporate, what's the difference between actor
And corporate.
and corporate? Yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess the main difference between actors and corporate is how actors see you as a photographer. You are, shoulder to shoulder with them on set. When you're doing set stills, you're with actors. When they're in workshops, they see photographers a lot more often than a corporate folk would, right? And they're a lot more educated and they know a lot more by default without you having to tell them anything. You say to an actor, I own copyright to the images, they're like, yeah, cool, that's fine. You say that to a real estate agent and they're like, no, you don't. You don't own copyright. I'm in the image. I own copyright. But then you've got to show them, the copyright law, and you show them material that proves that you do own copyright.
So in other words, a corporate client might tend to
a little more, it needs a little bit more work.
Okay.
With how their culture regards you as a photographer. The culture, when it comes to actors, they regard you as their buddy.
Okay.
Because we are buddies.
Yes.
In the entertainment industry, we're just all in one boat, right? But then the corporate person sees you in a different way. So that's the biggest difference. The other big difference between actor and corporate headshots is that with an actor, your goal is to get them in a casting room. So there is someone who is evaluating what you did in that headshot, and that is the casting director. If you did not do too well and that picture is just not popping up enough, that actor is going to lose jobs because you have screwed up. But that is not necessarily the case with a corporate person. You don't see a real estate agent losing jobs because their picture is not good enough.
Okay.
What happens when a real estate agent has a stunning picture is it can attract people to their personality, to their, they feel like they're engaged, right? But it's a little bit less critical with corporate people.
Okay.
It's a lot more critical with actors. It either gets you a job or it doesn't get you a job.
That's very interesting to know, eh?
Yeah.
And I've noticed that pictures is something very common in the real estate industry.
Yes, I shoot a lot of realtors.
Okay. Is there something that should change in the culture of corporate pictures?
Yes. I think I don't know how this happened to us, but there has been a craze or like a very famous style of like the blue sky and then two umbrellas with lights, and that produces like two little catch lights in both eyes. It's very flat. It's very boring. If you go to one of the main big stores, I don't want to say names.
Okay.
Let's not get sued. But you go to one of the big stores, you pay $15, they give you a digital image, and you put that on LinkedIn, and boom, you think you have a headshot. And the truth is what you have is a passport photo on steroids.
Okay.
You don't call that a headshot.
That's not a headshot.
No, I think what needs to change about the corporate culture are few things need change. And the first is I need to feel that I can trust you when I see your image. Funny story, when I was in my third year of engineering, I had some major health issues, and the department recommended that I visit a counselor on campus. And I Googled that woman's name and I see her picture. I'm like, oh my God.
You didn't like the picture?
No. I saw the picture and I was like, wait, how can this person, she needs help. She needs help. It's not me that needs help. She needs somebody to help her. It looked like she was being electrocuted. She looked shocked. Wow. She looked very disconnected. She looked very deer in headlights. She did not want her picture taken.
And as a potential client, that's the first thing you watched when you Google her.
Exactly. That's the first thing that I saw. But because I do this for a living.
Of course. And you see that.
And when I worked with her for over 2 years, on one of our few sessions when I was finishing the program and graduating, I told her, by the way, you need to change your picture because what I saw there was completely discouraging, and you are a completely different person in the room. She's very warm, very approachable. You can work with her, and she can. I was extremely anxious at the time, and I needed help coping.
Yes.
And she provided that. But you look at her picture, it makes you more anxious.
And it didn't convey that message.
No.
Wow, that's interesting, eh?
So that is something that absolutely needs to change.
Sure.
Looking at photographers and artists in general as a luxury is very dangerous.
Yes.
In fact, you take art away and I think the whole corporate world collapses.
Mm-hmm.
Corporate America would collapse if you take art away.
Wow.
If you think about it, that like middle-aged depressed dude that is working 9 to 5 and killing himself with a red Corvette, and they go back home and they go on Netflix, you take Netflix away and he's going to lose his mind because he's just, you know, living a parallel life in movies. It takes you from your current world for 2 hours in a movie and you just think that you're in that movie, right? It's therapeutic, it's important, it's crucial, right? Art is not something we can survive without.
And you need it. It feeds you up, right?
It feeds you and it keeps you going. It keeps you going. It gives you hope.
Yeah. Money-wise.
Yes.
I know that an actor is willing to pay whatever it takes if they have the money because they know they depend on that picture.
Yes.
Corporations, it's all about savings and all of
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Is that an issue or is that a reality?
It depends. It depends on how you can't really lump actors and corporate into two groups. There is a group of actors that will give me hard time for charging as much as I am charging. And there is another part of actors that will gladly pay what I'm charging because they know the value.
Okay.
I think same thing goes to
Okay,
corporate.
it goes both ways, eh?
But then corporate is a little harder. That ratio
Yes.
of people that will give you hard time versus not a hard time, I think it's a lot higher.
Of course, it's all about the savings, eh?
But then you take that away and you can combat that by dialogue. You educate people and you tell them, listen, here's what I can do. You think you want 20 minutes and you want to pay half price? What I could do is I'm going to spend with you 20 minutes and then I will spend extra 40 minutes and I'll show you the images that are at the 20-minute mark and I'll show you the last few images that were taken at the last 5 minutes. And then if you end up choosing the ones that are the 5 last minutes, I did that with few people, you're paying 3x. So if the session was $400, you're going to pay $1,200.
Wow.
If you end up selecting one of the images that are at the very end, at the 5 minutes where things are peaking.
Okay.
That happened with 2 to 3 people, and then they spread the story. There's that crazy photographer who charged me 3 times what he would normally
For the
charge
last pictures.
to give me the freedom because I'm taking a risk.
That's it.
I'm taking a risk of them saying, you know what, no, I'll take one from the first 20 minutes and I'll pay you half price.
Okay, interesting, eh?
I took that risk a few times and there has been a 100% success rate.
Great. Same question. I'm in the corporate world. I'm looking for corporate photographer. What should I look for?
I think the first thing you should look for is how they pose people, how they get people to connect with the camera. If you look at their website and you see nicely lit images, but you feel like there is no soul in the person, that's not your guy. That's not the photographer you should be hiring.
Okay.
You need to find a photographer that you look at their website and you feel that the people in their portfolio, they want to speak to you. They are about to come and get you and shake your hand and like do business with you. That is very important because what that does is we're all used to people on billboards that are looking a little bit stiff and awkward. And then you become that minority that is looking extremely engaged and things complete difference. It's just like absolutely different, right? It makes people trust you. It makes people pick up the phone and call you. It sounds weird.
Yes.
But it's true.
I really see it like 20 years ago. I don't know how long internet has been around. But imagine, I remember that several transitional moments.
Yeah.
When you had an email or not.
Yeah.
When corporations had a website or not.
Yes.
When corporations had social media or not.
That's true. That's true.
And the next step is corporate pictures. You need a nice photographer. You need a nice picture to look good here.
The thing is, I don't. We meet people online before we meet them in person, and we see their pictures. The days of 2 people going on a date and they would be like, put a red rose so that I know you. That's gone. people see the picture first,
Definitely.
and they start judging and thinking of you with the first few pictures that they see of you. That's true. That's true. The first few pictures that I saw of people, this is how they're stuck in my head. No matter how many times they update. The first time I saw something and it was that, and that's the impression that's formed stone.
And let's not get into the online dating.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Well, Youssef, it was great having you here.
Thank you.
Like, it was enlightening. I learned a lot today, eh?
Thank you. It was great having
you part of here. We understand. Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. How can we reach you?
Well, you can visit my website, www.ymaphoto.com.
Okay.
And you can find me on Instagram at ymaphoto.com. No, .com. At ymaphoto only. So you can find me on most social media platforms. And I would generally recommend a phone call. I like to be, on a phone call. That way we get along a little bit faster than over email and text. Things a lot faster.
That's great. Okay, well, Joseph, thank you very much.
It
was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. So that was Youssef, my good friend, the photographer. And this is Joshua Alvarez at Canada Pitch, right here at Canada Star TV. So see you next week. Bye-bye.